student, doctoral student at the University of South Carolina. I conduct ethnographic research in Izabal, one of Guatemala's 22 departments highlighted here in the room. Within Izabal, there are 5 municipalities. My work takes place in Livingston, which borders Belize and follows along the Rio Dulce River as it flows into the Caribbean Sea. Livingston suffers from inadequate infrastructure, having no roads to the rest of Guatemala and can only be accessed by boat. This predominantly forested municipality is home to 400 small, mostly Ekchi Maya villages, 500 large plantations, and contains more protected areas than any other municipality in Izabal. Yet, petroleum companies recently approached these villages offering incentives such as tin roofs to allow for seismic testing. Not even complete tin roofs, you can see they only gave half a tin roof for that one. In 2012, underground explosions shook Kekchi houses, revealing low-grade crude, now called the Amatik Basin. This took place inside the Rio Dulce National Park, a supposedly protected area. From the outside, one might see a striking contradiction between conservation efforts and the allowing for oil exploration, but on the ground, it can be made to seem compatible. Instead of focusing on aftermath and environmental disasters, my work looks at the processes shaping the cultural milieu in preparation for these activities. Guatemala's petroleum history can be traced back to the 1920s, when the Rockefeller Foundation launched an anti-malarial campaign securing access for petroleum speculation, relaxed taxation, and the construction of a philanthropic reputation for themselves. Oil is now Guatemala's 4th largest export and is projected to increase from 9,500 to 50,000 barrels per day by 2020, often sidestepping protectionist policies through controversial law reforms. Corporations already engaged in Guatemalan oil extraction, such as Perenco, are looking toward Livingston in their expansion plans. They already have a pipeline right there. Perenco boasts about school supplies they donate to rural communities, which typically take the form of dilapidated desks with their logo freshly painted on them. In July, I interviewed the governor of Livingston, who stated Perenco was reducing the annual 1,000 desk donation by 500 because the crude there is low quality. The longitudinal design to my study is based on 12 months of field work, tracking 3 years of developments and shifts. Specifically, my research traces decision-making processes of communities regarding exploration, conservation programs, self-regulated church gatherings, land title conversions, and collective action to push for state assistance. I analyze spaces of knowledge production, the engaged actors, and follow how the information is circulated and exchanged. My research strives to capture a community point of view to highlight a bottom-up perspective for how members become entangled with environmental NGOs, petroleum companies, the Catholic Church, and the Guatemalan state, as each of these assemblages enact their material, collective, and discursive relationships. The timetable for my research strategically coincides with the inception of a community network instituted by the Catholic Church in 2015, where 26 Kekchi communities assembled to discuss scripture alongside politics, social issues, and economics. These communities have a history of collectivizing to push the state for support. For example, in the year 2000, the network successfully pressured state agencies to integrate them into the city's electrical grid. And in 2009, after 4 years of intense community pressure, the municipality provided funds and equipment for the construction of a dirt road that now connects several communities to the city of Livingston. You can see both of those here. The 26 communities that make up this network are divided into 3 sectors, each with a central community that hosts 3 annual meetings. So in addition to the 3 network-wide meetings where all 26 communities meet, there are also 3 smaller meetings within each sector where there are 9 communities meet. The network-wide meetings also change sectors each year, where the central community of each sector will host the entire network for their respective year. 2020 2015 and 2016 summer meetings and will return in 2017 when my home-based community will be hosting the entire network. The community network system utilizes horizontal relations where leadership is voluntary and individuals occupy particular positions such as delegates, ministers, coordinators, elders, and catechists. Those able to attend the meetings become temporary leaders within their communities to disseminate the information acquired. This process is continually reinforced by the sector-specific meetings. This pulsating system of knowledge production and circulation ensures that the information is spread throughout the entire network of 26 communities and is integrated into weekly reminders via Sunday church gatherings. Each sector-wide meeting utilizes a theme that frames discussion topics to be connected with teachings of Scripture. The church opposes oil extraction, which was apparent in my discussions with attendees, yet many still allowed for seismic testing. How can this be? My study not only involves individuals from communities as they express their perspectives, but incorporates a cross-community exchange by asking questions at meetings where groups inform one another of their current situations as well. I've witnessed individuals learning about their neighbors converting communal land titles to individually parceled plots. Land title conversions have become a recent trend over the last 2 years. My project began during the administration of former President Otto Perez Molina, who purchased land in Livingston after the discovery of oil there, and was also later forced to resign from office on corruption charges. They had protests every week for months. I took that picture. I saw it. It was electric. His administration is well known for favoring resource extraction and working with petroleum companies. Much like Douglas Rogers' work in Russia, I witnessed several quasi-state private-sponsored displays of generosity, such as this ribbon-cutting ceremony dedication for a shade roof to the local high school, paid in part by the Parenco Petroleum Company. As government officials align themselves with corporate sponsors to share and receive credit, the distinctions between the two become blurred. A strategy to accomplish this is to influence perceptions regarding sources of support and power from state to private. The previous Livingston administration was known to facilitate meetings between community leaders and oil representatives where items in exchange for permission to conduct tests were negotiated. Oil interests and is led by Governor Miguel Rash, who previously held this office and is responsible for the aforementioned community road project. More recently, he granted incremental funds to the Catholic sector network to expand the church in my home-based community for next year's network-wide meetings. So here they are building their new church. They get incremental funds where all the materials and daily wages are provided, and then they take proof, take pictures, bring it back, and they give them more funding step by step until it's completed, hopefully by next year. Collective action has been championed as a way for individuals facing neglect to make up the difference. Yet networks of active individuals are often said to fail due to concentrated leadership or heavy reliance on donors with unclear accountability. To address these processes as they unfold, my research is guided by two models, highlighting the actions of state actors versus non-state actors. Non-state actors, such as corporations, rely upon state actors to conduct business. Benson and Kirsch provide a three-stage model utilized by corporations involved in disruptive industries. 1, unhindered market expansion. 2, assimilate the critics. And 3, last resort, change. Roberts and Portez also present a three-stage model enacted by the state in response to collective action. 1, absent. 2, proactive. And 3, to the rescue. When comparing the two models, the strategies are strikingly similar. It is yet to be seen what role the Catholic Church and the sector meetings will have for future collective action in the region as communities continually form new constellations with other actors and stakeholders. In addition to petroleum companies requesting permission to conduct seismic testing, conservation NGOs are enlisting communities to participate in programs where community members take on the responsibility of protecting land in exchange for compensation. Prior conservation efforts required the state to police areas. a dangerous task considering narco-traffickers favor forested areas. This past summer, I observed one community achieve consensus to enroll in this program. The impacts of this decision are yet to be seen. An overarching theme I've observed is how risk and responsibility are being pushed downward through various mechanisms that shape politics and public attitudes regarding oil exploration, land titling, conservation programs, support from the state, and church leadership that become integrated into daily life. Foucauldian notions of power are said to command consent via processes that create docile bodies while redirecting resistance. By looking at arenas where narratives are constructed, presented, and absorbed, I analyze impacts at different social scales. The sector system will complete its inaugural rotation in 2017, hosted by my home-based community. The final phase of my research will coincide with the sector-wide meetings to collect data concerning the shifts and changes during this cycle, proposed plans for the future, calls to action, goals, and how they plan to achieve them. What remains to be seen is the degree to which all the moving parts will shape each other. The fluctuations in petroleum's market prices will influence the levels of interest for investment in extracting low-quality crude compounded with the capital to incentivize new political coalitions, in addition to the materials required in a region with no formal infrastructure. The actions of the state will reflect the pressures brought upon them. The church's class-based rhetoric, as this expert from their meeting exemplifies, will have unpredictable outcomes for how the state crafts their policies and local legislation. Communities in this region are now at the crossroads between their long histories of neglect and self-sufficiency, accepting minimal material relief, or possibly forging a new path. Next year's field visit will determine the efficacy of the church's sector meetings by documenting the extent to which these communities have chosen individual